GM everyone, and welcome back to a weekly episode of We in Web3, a podcast about you, me, Zam, basically people who are reshaping the Web3 ecosystem and creating the new digital realm, from early advocates to newcoming celebrities and developers. I'm your host, Nikita Tsikaliuk, and as always, we're building this space by people, for people. Together with me here today, I have a very positive guest. Let's put it this way. I have Manu Alzuru, the founder of DoinGud, and if I may say so, perhaps the biggest Web3 OG, not only in Venezuela, but also in Spain, where we met just a couple of weeks ago at Ease Gathering. Manu, I'm really happy to see you here today at my podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me here, Nikita, and thank you for the amazing words. Highly appreciate that.
You deserve all of it, my friend. Today with you, I want to have this very friendly discussion about the role of positive social impact in Web3. In particular, diving a bit deeper into the social protocols that you're developing with DoinGud, the role of community development in the whole space, as well as your original story, jumping into the space, coming from Venezuela to Europe, learning more about blockchain technologies that you have heard many years before that, but didn't pay that much attention. And now being this one of the biggest Venezuelan, as I said, the OGs there for sure. But the first question that I want to address, actually, and right now you're smiling. That's actually the question that I want to address. I have been seeing you behind the curtain, working on the big project. But at the same time, the only way how I can have this friendly discussion with you is either at some big parties during conferences or some private dinners, private brunches, and all the time, regardless, whether it's morning, afternoon, late night, you're smiling, you're spreading this positivity. Man, where are you getting this energy from?
Yeah, so as you said before, I'm originally from Venezuela, and yeah, I have had a lot of very negative situations. And also during, let's say, my career, I have had not so many, let's say, good experiences. However, I remain super positive. I don't want, the bad things that have happened around me to drag me down. And I just remain positive because yeah, if I wouldn't remain positive, I wouldn't be in this planet actually. And I really try to to be positive also, not only for myself or for the rest of the people
People
around
around
me.
you.
Because because when people are upset or sad and you smile to them, you change the day already. And yeah, I'm always trying to do that, always trying to emanate positive energies, positive vibes, because it affects our day to day. And yeah, for me, it's super important that I affect the people around me in a positive way.
That is the way you start with yourself, with feeling good, feeling happy inside yourself, and then spreading across your family, across your relatives, across other people. I have had a couple of interesting situations at conferences where I was just smiling with no reason, just smiling at people, and people are coming to me like, "Hey, do I know you? Like, is there something happening? Like, do you want to tell me something?" No, I'm just smiling. That's also the way how you actually make connections in this space. So. You're doing an amazing, friend, because I remember that the first time we met with you was during ECC week. We met
Mhm.
with you at Metis DAO dinner, and you were smiling. It was 10 p.m. back then. You were smiling, you were partying, you were eating, you were dancing. Like we had a lovely discussion about almost everything. And even back then, I told you that I want to have you on my podcast, and now it has been like since July. It's almost half in a year, and you're here. So I'm really happy that you are still holding this positive energy, positive emotions, even though, as you mentioned before our podcast, the market condition might be not that positive for people. It's actually challenging right now. It's bear market. Let's be frank, bear market for crypto, for NFTs. You're still facing it with a smile on your face. So, doing amazing, man. That's the way. Talking about the way, I have read your fantastic thread about your origin stories that you posted back in November 2020. In short, the idea is really simple. You're coming from Venezuela. The economic situation, the overall life standards in Venezuela are much, much lower than in Central Europe, for example, where you moved later on. That was also one of the reasons why you decided to move from there. And you even referred that you were telling your parents all the time that we need to buy USD, and you refer to it as buy, not exchange, because exchange in Venezuela, it's something related to black market, like bad activity. So buying USD, moving into this US space, moving into Europe, that's basically what you did when you moved back to France. And then in France, connecting with a couple of people where you had almost no connection with Web3, you actually realized that the blockchain technology, later on, the idea of DAOs is something that makes total sense, something that you have heard many years ago, didn't pay that much attention, but voila, just after a couple of years, you're one of the biggest supporters of Ethereum community. You're developing your own Web3 community to promote this positive impact on Web3 space, to onboard more people, to educate people, and you're doing it extremely successfully. Let me know, what was this aha moment for you, if you remember, when you came to Europe, chatted with a couple of people and realized that, you know what, actually blockchain is here to stay. Web3 space is huge and I want to be a part of this. What was this aha moment for you personally?
Yeah, to be honest, it was a combination of a lot of things. First, you know, when I was back in Venezuela, I started to realize that the currency, the national currency, was losing its value super, super, super fast. So as you said, I was trying to exchange my bolivares for US dollars and trying to get my parents to do that. And the idea was to obviously store some value. You know, store some
Not to
value.
lose it, but just to
Yeah.
store, like at least to have this money
Just to
10
store
years
some
from now.
value. Yeah, because one thing that I started to realize is that when people were getting paid in Venezuelan bolivars, they will exchange it immediately into dollars, or they will buy products, and the products will actually hold more value than the money, than the currency. Um, and when I came to Europe, I started to hear again, you know, when I was in Venezuela, I heard like a couple of friends that they were using cryptocurrency in order, like trying to save some value. Some of them, they got mining equipments and they started mining, and obviously they were storing value in that way. But to me, that all of that sounded like they were playing like with let's say in-game currency. And I'm saying that is because a lot of my friends also were playing video games, and they were like, you know, growing their accounts. And basically, once they have their accounts sufficiently grown, they would sell it. Or another thing that they will do is that they will buy skins and sell those skins, or sell guns, let's
Like
say in the
Counter-Strike,
in
Fortnite, Call of
games.
Duty,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these
yeah.
games, exactly.
So yeah, and then when I was in Europe, I started to hear again, but not from Venezuelans, but from other people, from let's say Iran. I had a friend from Iran, and I had another friend from Syria. So I had a couple of friends that were coming from places like Venezuela, that they have, let's say, not the best economy, and they have authoritarian governments and so on. And then I started to hear them talk about this, but it didn't really click. The Once it really clicked was when I had a really good friend that was basically hosting people in his apartment as Airbnb. And one of the persons that came to that Airbnb was this guy that will always talk about crypto, crypto, crypto. And yeah, he was actually working in the space. And then he started to explain me what consensus algorithms are. And he started to show me actually a smart contract that he built. And what he was trying to do was basically enabling humans to exchange without having a middleman. And when he explained me this concept of basically being able to trade without having a middleman, I couldn't get it. Like I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I asked him to please explain me really, really
Once
well.
again.
Yeah, he actually did explain me. He showed me the code, explained me how it worked and so on. And yeah, that's when it really clicked. That's when I really realized that this technology can be used for enabling humans to become a little bit more free, and be able to transact without having central authorities in the middle that basically are controlling or not allowing or even taking a super high cut. When it comes to exchanging currencies, I have a lot of people, a lot of friends that were sending their euros to their countries, and basically there was Western Union or let's say other companies in the middle taking a huge cut, and this was like the only way that people could send money without any geographical let's say lines, and basically have a good rate and also have complete control over their currency. Because once you start sending money using a third party, you need to trust that third party that they won't run away with your money, or you never know how long it's going to take actually for the money to arrive. Maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a month. So it's very, very let's say unstable and also concerning. Like it's not really like good for your mental health when you have some money in a third party and you don't know when it's going to arrive, you don't know what's going to happen with it. So that's when it really, really clicked, when this friend of mine explained me that you could use this and that you could transact without having a middleman. And that's when, yeah, basically I decided to jump into the space.
What year was it?
That was in 2016.
2016, yeah. So it was like before all this huge boom back in 17, 18. So you were actually pretty early for these days. And I know that you were actually going back and forth back in Venezuela to visit your family, to visit your friends. What is the station in Venezuela right now? What is the station for like the whole like society there, from like this regulation standpoint, government standpoint of usage of crypto and the whole Web3? And also, what's the station for your family? Because you warned them to move into USD back then. I assume that you also warned them to move into cryptocurrency. Is your family also using any crypto right now?
Yeah, coming to the first question, how is Venezuela doing right now? To be completely honest with you, I really don't know like the full situation right now. It's been more than 10 years since I don't go there. Um, and obviously I still have friends, I still have family, but the situation is changing so fast, and uh, you know, and sometimes without even the information being spread, that sometimes I don't even know anymore like how things are. Also, another thing that is happening is that inflation is so high that I don't have any sense of value in terms of the Venezuelan currency. Like I completely lost the value
Yeah,
because
have, yeah.
the government has taken 14 zeros out of the currency. Imagine that, 14 zeros out of the currency in the last I don't know, 10 years more or less. Um, so yeah, it's been, or maybe, yeah, maybe 15 years. So it's been very, very hard to actually follow what is happening, and at the same time I don't really know anymore like what is real and what is not real. We apparently have two, let's say, governments controlling at the same time, which is insane. Like I don't really even know like who is who anymore.
Yeah.
And these people are are sometimes apparently supporting the people, let's say, but then in reality they're again with the authoritarians. So it's really really hard to follow. And obviously the government is putting in jail all of those people that are showing some sort of opposition to the government. And yeah, it's really really tough. um I was personally one activist there back at home, and the government was always trying to, let's say, pressure my family. They were calling my family, telling them that they were gonna kidnap me or that they were gonna kill me, and so on. So you know, it's not a safe place to be. Um, if if obviously if you talk loud about the current situation and so on, you can get in danger very easily. Um, so yeah, that's how the situation was when I was living there. And yeah, as you said, I started to tell my parents to save money in US dollars. And then obviously I started to tell them to save money in cryptocurrencies. But they were really afraid. They were really, really afraid of that. I even had a friend that I sent to my home and asked him to teach my parents basically what mining was, and to show him also to show them also the machines, and so on. And yeah, I wanted them to start mining actually at the house. But also we had a lot of issues with the electricity. So the electricity was going on and off all the time. So it was very difficult actually to maintain that. So my dad and my mom, they were kind of like scared, so they didn't really actually pursue the mining. But yeah, they started to accumulate a little bit of cryptocurrency, just as I said, in order to find a new store of value. But yeah, actually that helped a lot. And yeah, we started to get one family member out of Venezuela per time. So it was, first my sister, then my mom, then my dad, and my other sisters, and so on. So until we got, let's say, all my family circle out of Venezuela. But obviously I still have my grandparents and a couple of other um, cousins, and yeah, still trying to get them out of there. And some of them, they don't really want to go out of there. But yeah, it's been very challenging.
And I mean, talking about the script adoption, we have a lot of South American and African countries who are already started to, in a certain way, adopting crypto. Like I'm reading that 2 days ago, El Salvador launched a national Bitcoin office. So it's like an official entity that is controlling everything related to Bitcoin. But at the same time, a lot of countries like India, one of the biggest countries out there, who is pushing CBDs, digital currencies, digital rupee. What is your take on crypto versus CBDs? Do you believe that people still gonna use cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, as you said, like 5 years ago, 7 years ago when you found about it? Even more going forward, or CBDs and all this government introducing their digital currency. Just imagine Venezuela having this digital currency in 20 years from now. Is it gonna somehow solve the problem, or still cryptocurrency is a way to move forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, the Venezuelan government was probably one of the first governments that tried to have national cryptocurrency. They created Petro, and yeah, the Petro was, let's say, kind of like a currency that was backed by the petroleum that is inside Venezuela, inside the earth in Venezuela. So it's petroleum that hasn't, let's say, been exploited yet. So it's kind of like
This
basically
is very
tokenized.
this is very risky, I would say, no?
Yeah, it's kind of like a tokenized future of oil. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But I mean, that was the idea. But in reality, what is happening is that basically they created a pretty much like a scam. like no real thing behind it. And obviously the government, they're selling just promises that also those promises, if they don't want to fulfill, they don't have to because they're the government. So they're just selling you promises. But yeah, that was in terms of Venezuela. But now, if we think a little bit about other countries and so on, and about CBDCs and so on, coming back to your question, if I think that cryptocurrency is going to continue or going to gain more value and so on, I personally believe that humans, we're starting to realize that basically these imaginary lines that we call countries, they don't really exist. I mean, we created them. These are just imaginary lines that we created. And yeah, now when we're born, basically we don't have the possibility of choosing where in those imaginary lines we're going to be born. We're just born by luck, right? And depending on the place that you're born, basically you have to follow the rules and the currencies within those imaginary lines. So that's not really freedom,
I mean,
that's
this is a
basically that
very good
you're
explanation,
born
but
in, and
yeah,
you
this
have.
is, yeah, just quickly, this is a very good
Yeah.
definition of
So you're basically
society in
born in.
2022. Yeah.
Totally. So basically, you're born in these, in these imaginary lines, and then you basically need to follow the currency that is being used there. You need to nobody's asking you if that's the currency that you want to transact in. You just need to follow. You just need to do it. You just need to basically, you're kind of like forced to use that specific currency. But nobody asked me if I wanted to use that currency in the first place, right? And with so that's the same thing with CBDCs. It's the same thing, the exact same thing. Like you pretty much have this currency that you have been imposed to use, and yeah, the value, if you think a little bit about it, if you think behind any currency in the world, there's nothing. There's no gold. There's nothing. There's just debt and the promise that this is going to be paid, and basically fear and guns that basically protect the value of those currencies. So the currencies that we live in right now are just based out of fear, nothing else. So if you think about the US dollar, why the US dollar is valuable, first, all the markets are driven in US dollar, like oil, let's say gas, gold, silver. Any market is driven in US dollar. But also another thing is that, basically the US is the superpower in this world, that, yeah, if another, let's say, imaginary line doesn't like what the US says or their politics, the US can come and basically conquer them. And what we're experiencing right now is, a new form of colonialism, and the colonialism that we're living in is with the currencies. And yeah, basically the currencies are imposed on us humans, and it's not that we humans decide if we want to transact in those currencies or not. We just impose. And yeah, so back to your question, I believe that we humans, we're starting to wake up and starting to realize that we live in this planet, and that this planet doesn't have those imaginary lines that we have created, and those rules that are imposed on us are not really giving some human freedom. So in this world, we have all of these DAOs and these type of organizations. I believe in the future, these are like the new type of states, the new type of, let's say, countries, but they are just digital, and they don't have these imaginary lines. So you can basically opt in, but you can also opt out. So to me, that gives you more choice, and by giving you more choice, it gives you more freedom. So to me, I personally believe that cryptocurrencies are going to be way more impactful in humans' life and in human history than CBDCs. I think that CBDCs they're going to be an attempt to remain, to still have control over the currencies and still try to be authoritarian over the population. But yeah, that's just my thinking.
I mean, I
And yeah, just
absolutely
my opinion.
agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree with it because what you just said is to have this more borderless life, borderless experience where you're not controlled by some entities, but cryptocurrency, in this case, it's fully on the blockchain, meaning that it's decentralized, meaning that it's not owned by anyone at all, apart from a couple of protocols, and the fact that you're using cryptocurrencies, the fact that you're using NFTs as digital assets, the fact that you're a member of DAO, perhaps the most decentralized community-driven this voting mechanism, it gives you more power. You're not standing behind someone, but actually you have the same rights, you have the same opportunities as other people. That's where we don't have this borders as lines of different countries. We don't have these borders of currencies, languages, etc. So I absolutely appreciate you saying that. Apart from you being big blockchain engineer, supporter, also a solar punk, as I know. Earlier this year, to be more precise, beginning of July, you started your own conference called EthBarcelona. That was the first edition. That was a successful edition because you had over 2K people, as far as I remember. And some of the speakers are good friends of ours, for example, Nader Dabit or Evan McMullen, with whom I just presented 2 weeks ago at the East Gathering. Some of the biggest supporters of security, smart contract development, DAOs out in the space. What was the thinking, what was the logical thinking behind starting this conference in Barcelona? Because I do believe that is the first big let's even call it a community, not just a conference, but actually a community where people came partially to listen to some of the biggest OGs from all around the world coming there, partially to connect, partially to actually realize that some of their neighbors, some of their friends are also in Web3, and you have this common language, borderless language, as you just said. So what was the vision behind EthBarcelona when you started it a year ago?
Yeah, so um, back in 2017 or 2018, I don't remember precisely. I think it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I started to go to Ethereum conferences. I went to ETH Berlin. It was my first Ethereum conference. And yeah, it was the first ETH Berlin that ever happened. And when I was there, I was so happy, so happy that I found my tribe. I found my, let's say, my community, the people that I feel that had very similar values to me, and the people that I felt inspired by, and people that I wanted to be surrounded by. And that was an amazing experience, just by being there and being able to chat about these ideas, and being able to learn from others that were building in the space, learn also their values. To me, like, that helped me grow so much, just that experience of being there at ETH Berlin. And um, I was super inspired after that, and uh, I just started to think about how could we bring this to more, let's say, Spanish speaking countries and to more Latin America and so on. And then back in probably like in 2019 probably, I went also to another event, and yeah, that gave me, the kind of like the inspiration to also start creating community in the Latin speaking countries. And yeah, during that time, I just bought the EthBarcelona domain, and a couple of other domains in Latin America. And I said to myself, if nobody does it, I will do it. Um, and yeah, it was, Corona happened, and obviously no one was doing any conferences. And then after Corona, I was like, okay, who's gonna make this happen? I started to meet a lot of people in Barcelona, and I found a community in Barcelona. Um, and yeah, basically, I started to say to them like, we should do this. And a lot of people, when I would comment that we should do the ETH Barcelona, they would get really excited. And people from, let's say, not from Spain necessarily, but from outside of Spain, I would tell them, hey, would you come to ETH Barcelona? And people would say yes. And after COVID happened, conferences started to organize again, and one of the first ones was ETH Lisbon. And I went to ETH Lisbon together with our team. And yeah, there at ETH Lisbon, we had an amazing experience, an amazing vibe. Again, I was starting to feel the same thing that I was feeling when ETH Berlin. And just after the conference ended, I told a couple of people, I think it's time that we do ETH Barcelona. And yeah, basically I sent a message in the ETH Lisbon group. ETH Barcelona is coming next year, and here's the link. And over 1,000 people joined the group, maybe in less than a week. And when I saw that over 1,000 people were interested in getting this off the ground, and I created again another handle also on Twitter, ETH Barcelona on Twitter, and we had, I don't know, like 2,000, 3,000 people, like really, really fast. And that's when I said, okay, yeah, this thing needs to happen. We need to make it. We need to make it, and we did it. And obviously, another thing that I had in my mind was that, okay, we couldn't have DevCon in Latin America yet, and I was like, okay, we need to make at least one event in Spanish happen before we make DevCon. And yeah, that was basically how ETH Barcelona got started. Obviously, ETH Barcelona, as you said, was like the first
That first,
Ethereum,
exactly.
the first Ethereum gathering in Spain. And yeah, it was actually very big. Over 2,200 people came to the event. And the cool thing is that with every ticket that was sold, a percentage was put in a pool, and also with every ticket that was sold, another ticket was given completely for free to students. So we made this event like really focused on impact. And yeah, as I said before, like a percentage of the sales went to a pool, and that pool was later on managed by basically all the people that came to the event, and they decided how that pool was distributed between all the different projects that also came to the event, that were focused on public goods and that were focused on creating culture and creating impact. Also, the Ethereum Foundation put money into the pool, Status put money into the pool, and yeah, essentially we started creating quadratic funding together with the Ethereum Foundation that help us out with all the let's say setup. And yeah, we did, let's say, an event where positive impact was like the main let's say objective, and obviously culture as well, because we believe that the space that we're creating is not only about technology, but actually it's about the people behind the technology. And why I'm saying this is because we have also learned, like when the DAO hack happened, we learned that smart contracts might fail, but social contracts are more important than the smart contracts. And why I'm saying that the social contracts are more important is because, okay, the DAO hack happened, and a lot of people were like, yeah, we should let it happen like this. But then the Ethereum community, or like let's say people behind the Ethereum community, they say, no, we cannot do this. We need to revert the hack, give the money back to people that got stolen this money, and have a new state for Ethereum. And essentially, the Ethereum that we have today is actually a fork. Not that many people know that the Ethereum that we have today is a fork
I
of the
do know.
original
Yes, yes,
original Ethereum, right? And what that means is that that smart contracts are important and do have value, but what it really has value is the humans behind the technology, and the social contracts has more value than the smart contracts. and
exactly.
and yeah, basically, that because of that, we wanted Barcelona to be completely an event that is focused on impact, focused on culture, focused on people, focused on on bringing the human element to our community, and to make it more evident for people that the human element is the most important element in our
Exactly.
community.
Exactly. That's why your network is your net worth. That's why here at WinWeb3, I have the slogan built by people for people, because we're putting people, community in the middle of everything we're doing, regardless whether it's for the next 5, 10, 20 years. We want people to use this technology. We want people to be in the center of whatever we're building with NFTs, with cryptos, with DAOs. So, if that was your main goal for EthBarcelona, then you absolutely succeeded in it. Let us know what's the alpha for EthBarcelona 2023. What can we expect from it? Is it still happening in July, or any changes? Have you already started planning it? Actually, let's put it this way.
Yeah, so the idea would be actually to do it similar as we did it last year. We did it 1 week before ETCC. And the idea was that, people from all over the world could come to Barcelona, and then go to the Ethereum Community Conference that has been happening, in Paris for the last few years. And yeah, the idea for 2023 will be pretty much the same. And obviously, we will try to grow more the space, and to bring more people to enter the space as well. And yeah, we'll try to also enable, let's say, people that are from other places to also come here. But precisely, like, what we really want is to have a lot of universities from Spain to participate in this event, so they can learn about the technology, and they can also hopefully be new community members, because what is lacking in the Web3 space is a lot of human capital, and a lot of people that want to build and want to create things. And yeah, we just need to bring more people in, because those people that we bring in, they will come with new ideas, and they will hopefully build the next big protocols in the space.
I love it. And you saying that it was specifically designed 1 week before ECC is actually the reason why I didn't come to your conference, because I was preparing for Metaverse Summit, the first edition also in Paris for ECC. But I promise you, and we've already been discussing it, that next year I'm coming. I'm presenting at East Barcelona. From there, we're together going to ECC. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep on the great work. I want to take a step back to talk about communities. Uh, you being potentially the biggest Spanish-speaking community, at least in Spain for sure. You've been a good example for some other communities, like a common friend of ours, Carolina Yakhnova, who is founder CEO of Guide, who are actually launching their app December the 1st. She built the biggest, the first women in Web3 community in Spain. It's a group of almost 1K people. Tadeo, who just organized his gathering, he built this a bit different conference, but also different community based in Barcelona, based in Spain. What was the first community that you entered, that you joined in the Web3 space? Was it some NFT crypto art project back in 2017, 2018, or it was actually some East-centric community?
Yeah, so the first project that I actually started to be part of was a project that was tokenizing real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and that was back, let's say back before all the NFT craziness and so on. And yeah, the idea was to enable anyone around the world, no matter where they were, whether it was Latin America, Africa, Asia, to be able to invest in more stable assets that could generate more yield, and obviously that could store more value than their national currency. That was kind of like the idea. So imagine that someone in Venezuela was able to put, I don't know, $50, $100 into a property in Europe that is more stable place to have, let's say, to have property, and that actually might generate some yield, might generate some money based on basically the rent that is getting from people that might be living in the real estate, or maybe also if it was commercial real estate, the people that might be using the real estate, they might be providing some value, and that value will go back to the token holders. So instead of having shares in a property, usually, if you buy a property with your friends and so on, you have shares. Instead of having shares, you will have tokens that represented those shares. And that was kind of like the idea initially. But as I said at the very beginning, like the first real community, or like the first sense of community that I felt, was when I was part of EthBarcelona. I help out quite a lot at EthBarcelona, and also I was part of DevCon as well. I help also during DevCon as a volunteer, and yeah, that's where in those groups, that's where I really felt the sense of community. And in the first EthBarcelona, or no, actually it was, I think, the second EthBarcelona. Yeah, in the second EthBarcelona, I believe, a lot of people from all over the world came, and there was a lot of talks about the DAOs. But as you know, the first DAO was hacked, so nobody was really trying DAOs. And then there was Amin and a couple of other people, Arjun and a couple of others, that came up with a new form of DAO. And yeah, that was the entry point for that DAO was really, really high. I think it was 500 to 1,000 ETH to enter. So yeah, a lot of people that wanted to be part of it couldn't be part of it because they didn't have enough money for it. And then basically this group of people that I met in Berlin, I basically, together with another friend, we organized a trip in Berlin. I'm always like trying to bring people together in one way or in another. So yeah, after ETHBarcelona happened, we organized this little trip. I was at the time living in Berlin, so I knew Berlin quite well. And yeah, we took probably between 30 people, 30 to 40 people to the woods, and we were like having a hike and so on. And during this experience, we got to to meet each other in a deeper way. And from there, actually, that's when Metacartel was born, kind of. Yeah, I met these people, and then I joined them. In this journey of, basically funding projects that we liked without expecting anything in return. So that was the idea of Metacartel at the very beginning. Like, we were putting our funds into this DAO, and basically giving grants to people that were building tools that we were going to be using or that were necessary for the space. So that's basically when really I started to feel this sense of
community. Yeah.
This sense of community in the Web3 space.
Sense of belongingness somewhere, exactly. And I do believe that by now our audience should understand that whatever you are doing in this space, whether it's early attending all these conferences, I do believe that back in 2017, 2018, there were like maybe 100 people attending these conferences. It was extremely centric, small events where like Bitcoin, blockchain back then, it was known to just hundreds of people. It was really small, like people who were traveling from one conference to another. So the circle, the group of these people were extremely small. But you back then already trying to bring more people, trying to spread this positive message around blockchain, about the whole Web3 space. It's all due to the fact that you want to have this positive social impact on whatever you're doing in the Web3 space. So let's talk about social impact protocols, and specifically what is the role of doing good in it.
Yeah. So, I started to notice that that the whole crypto space was basically making impact in people's life. At least based on my own experience, it was making a huge impact in my life. I was able to help my family get out of Venezuela and so on. So I was just thinking that if I was one of those, there were probably many other people around the world that were experiencing the same thing. That crypto was actually making an impact in their lives. And there, at that moment, there was like a lot of speculation in the crypto space because the ICO boom started, and many projects were just coming out with a paper and getting millions of dollars. And yeah, basically I started to see that the values that brought me in kind of like were disappearing, and were focusing more on speculation. And yeah, obviously this has been accelerated. A lot of the let's say current prices, or not the current, but let's say the prices that we saw or that we've been seeing have been just driven by speculation, and not really by the impact that it's generating, and so on. I started to see that where a couple of projects that wanted to create impact. One of them at the time was Giveth, and yeah, basically I started to realize that other people really had the values that I also have, and really wanted to make the Web3 space about impact. And yeah, I realized that when people think about impact in the Web3 space, they just think about giving money to social causes. But that's not really impact. That's just, let's say, the first step for creating impact is actually funding, let's say, all of these people that might need funding for generating the impact. So if you heard what I just said now, it means that, okay, people, they receive the money, and then they want to create some impact. So the impact comes later on, right?
It's vice versa. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the impact comes after you give them the money. They create impact, hopefully. But yeah, then I also, back in 2020, no, 2019, I'm sorry, we were working with a group of people. We wanted to launch the marketing DAO for Ethereum. As you know, Ethereum doesn't have a marketing department.
Yeah.
So like a group of people, we came together and we said, okay, let's launch the marketing DAO. And the marketing DAO was basically just a DAO focusing the time and attention into spreading the word, spreading the message of Ethereum across the world in different conferences and so on. If you go to a blockchain conference that is not Ethereum focused or Ethereum center, you will realize that you have all of these other blockchains. They have stands there. They have. If you think about it, like if you go to, let's say, to a big event where the main, let's say, focus is blockchain in general, you will find Dash, you will find Solana, you will find Binance, so you will find any other blockchain, but you will never see a stand for Ethereum. You will never see a stand for Ethereum. And the crazy thing is that you will see for Bitcoin. And you're like, okay, how is it possible that Bitcoin has a stand, but Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing department either, but Ethereum doesn't have a stand? And why is that? It's because actually Bitcoiners, they were funding it and they were bringing and creating a stand there, So why Ethereans could not do the same? So that was the idea with the marketing DAO when we started working on it. But then, COVID happened, and then all the prices crashed, and many of us, basically were affected during COVID. And yeah, kind of like the spark that we had died, and also we didn't want to raise money, because first, like the market completely crashed, went from $500 to $80. And the second is that the DAO was basically funded via donations. So the DAO was going to run at some point out of money if there were not more donations coming in. So we didn't really have a sustainable way for maintaining this marketing DAO. And COVID happened. When COVID happened, I started to realize that, in the building where I was living, a lot of people were leaving sticky notes at the door saying the person in the fifth floor needs food, the person in the third floor needs medicine, can someone help? And I started to see like all of these sticky notes, like people trying to help each other within the same building. And then one day I went to my friend's house, and I also realized that in their house also they also had like a board where people were putting those sticky notes. And to me, it was kind of weird to realize that there's like a lot of applications for basically showing off, like Instagram or whatever, but you don't have applications for helping each other within your own communities. And to me, that was kind of like, how is it possible that we humans, we've been putting so much attention into, showing off, but not to help each other and support each other in our own communities? And more during the pandemic, that people needed help. People really needed help. And we created a platform called Fight Pandemics. And Fight Pandemics was essentially a place where you could request or offer help no matter where you were. We created this project in like over 30 languages, and a lot of people from all over the world. We had over 1,900 people that came together to build the project. Obviously, not the 1,900 contributed all the time. Obviously, a very few amount of people were constant and contributing all the time. But either way, other people were contributing however they could contribute, and whenever they could contribute. So we built this whole thing. And when we were building this whole thing, I started to notice a couple of patterns. One pattern was that basically a lot of people that were behind nonprofits and NGOs were artists, were creators. And I started to see also that, you know, NFTs started to appear, and to me it was kind of like an obvious thing. How can we create tools for creators to support themselves, but also for creators to support their communities and to support, you know, the causes that they care about? And that's how the idea of Doing Good came out. And yeah, Doing Good started as a NFT, let's say, marketplace where creators, they could come and tokenize their video, their music, or any form of digital media, whether it's, let's say, an animation or maybe 3D objects for the metaverse. And when they tokenize that, basically they say, I'm willing to give a percentage to a social cause. And all of this is on chain. So you could see what is the social cause that is going to be receiving the funds. And yeah, basically all of this happens transparently. Because also another thing that I started to notice is that a lot of NFT sales were promising that they were going to give a percentage to social causes. But how could you trust that? Like, basically, they were doing all of these sales, and you could not really verify that the money went where they were saying that the money was going. So that was basically why Doing Good was born. But the idea of Doing Good has always been to create more than just an NFT marketplace. We've been thinking how to create an ecosystem. So not only a marketplace, but let's say multiple apps that are always giving, you know? So imagine that you could have, let's say, any sort of business model that you can think of, but that you have a percentage that you give to social good, always. So that has been always the idea for Doing Good. So imagine having, let's say, an exchange, or imagine having, let's say, any sort of Web3 product that you can think of, and that is always giving back to the communities.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Doing Good, the idea is, you know, to have a protocol that enables anyone to participate in the decentralized funding, but also in the decentralized governance, and obviously what I said before, in the validation of impact, which we think is super, super important. So yeah, that's basically the idea of Doing Good.
And I actually remember the way how you introduced me to Doing Good. You sent me some manifesto. You said that I need to check it out, and if I agree, just signing up, something big is happening. Back then, it was just a couple, maybe a couple of thousand people who actually signed it up. Right now, it's 17K plus for the audience to understand. And some of the biggest communities out there are Admit One, CoolDAO, Mochi, Gitcoin. Like people from all these communities are joining, and actually they're joining as your membership members. So one more thing that you just recently announced a couple of weeks ago, I do believe back in November, is the thing that you are starting Good Soul memberships. So can we talk about the membership itself? Why do you need a membership under your community, and what's the benefit of different layers, different levels, because you have 4 of those?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we've been noticing what is happening in the DAO space, and we noticed that, you know, there's like a lot of communities that get a lot of momentum and a lot of hype, and a lot of people join them, and they join them with the idea of hopefully getting something back, getting a token or getting something. But this is an issue. This is an issue because there was an analysis of basically Uniswap. Almost everyone that received the airdrop from Uniswap has sold the airdrop. So this is a real issue, because you're trying to bootstrap a community, and basically the community is just disappearing and not caring anymore about the project. So for us, like the way that we see this is that we believe that that in the DAO space, it's really important for people to have some sort of a skin in the game and to feel some sort of of involvement, for them to hopefully contribute and to bring value to the organization. And that value can be whatever. And when I say whatever, I mean literally whatever. People just think that value is just money, but no, it goes beyond money. So it goes, let's say, from human capital, social capital, even land capital or any other form of capital. So essentially what we're creating is this membership, of people that feel that are, let's say, aligned with the values, first, because for us it's super important that people are aligned with the values, and then second, to have some sort of skin in the game in this that we're creating, right? So for that reason, we decided to have these memberships, and the memberships are non-transferable memberships, which means that the memberships are in the form of a soulbound token. So that means that also this membership is not a membership for speculating, because that's also another problem that we have seen, is that there's many communities that are forming in the Web3 space, but all of these communities memberships are basically NFTs that you can buy and sell, and essentially you can enter the community and be a member, and then when you don't like it anymore, you just sell your token and leave. That's not the problem. The problem is that people are using the memberships for speculation. That's the problem. And yeah, that creates a negative impact in the community, because there might be big players that have a lot of money that come in, buy a lot of NFTs, and then sell them to the community at a higher price, and basically they extract all of the value from the community, and it's not the community that is retaining the value, but it's the speculators who are retaining the value. So how can we create, let's say, new forms of memberships where the community keeps the value? And obviously, if the people don't want to be part of the community anymore, it doesn't matter, because the membership will expire either way. So that's what we came up with. Obviously, taking a lot of inspiration from Vitalik and the things that he has done when it comes to soulbound tokens. And yeah, the different tiers are basically different forms of support, and different forms of signaling to the community, that basically you want to support, financially speaking.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of these different tiers will essentially give different accesses. One thing also that we have realized is that in the DAO space, we have these forums where communities are basically discussing proposals and so on. And one thing that we realize is that people that are sometimes are not even within the community are making posts, and those posts might be detrimental for the community itself. So we think that the people that are actually participating in the governance have to be people that have a skin in the game, and have to be people that actually really care about the project, and that are not there just for trolling, and not for, because that's also another problem. You have trolls, you have spam. So how do you avoid all of that? Is by having, let's say, memberships that are basically not for speculation, and that basically your let's say, all of these different places where the discussions are happening are only for members.
I love it. I love it. The question that I have for you, like listening right now to all this structure of this membership, is it the only way to contribute to your community long term, from that point on, becoming a membership, getting this pass for 1 year or like 4 months or whatever, or actually you, taking into account that you have over 17,000 signees to your manifesto, you're also dropping some other type of token, some other type of digital identity, either an NFT or soulbound token or whatever, for those people who sign in like half a year ago, to be members of this community? Or you're focusing mainly on membership pass holders going long term?
Yeah, there are many different ways for contributing, So until now, in the NFT platform itself, there has been more than $90,000 that have been given to communities.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, like, you as a person, we believe that everyone has something to give. Everyone has something to contribute. And right now, like, if you want to participate on the Doing Good ecosystem, you could contribute with your creativity. You could contribute with your creations, let's say pictures, movies, podcasts, let's say animations, whatever form of digital media, and you essentially can tokenize that and stream money to social causes if that creations get sold. That's one way of contributing. Another way of contributing is obviously also building together with us. So we've been building a community in the space. For example, at DEF CON, we also created a community called the Block Ravers, and it was just a group of people coming together and basically helping each other out during the event, and helping each other out when it comes to like the different side events, helping others to get in, and so on, and basically kind of like creating this sense of family community. So that's also another way, just basically contributing to any of those initiatives, as well. Obviously, contributing, building together with us, as well. Basically, as a community, you can be part of the Doing Good membership, by basically supporting us financially, or supporting us with tools, or supporting us with any other form of value that we could potentially exchange. And yeah, also another way of contributing is obviously by purchasing any digital media that is on Doing Good, that will support creators, and that will support also social causes. And yeah, those are like many different ways of supporting. And obviously another one is literally just going and signing the manifesto if you believe in those words that are said there. By doing that, you also be receiving an NFT that will basically show to the world that you are a supporter of these words. And yeah, that's a signal, that's a signal to the community.
And the signal to the whole world to address what we're doing here, that we are actually doing good, we're contributing to the whole space. Manu, I absolutely enjoyed having our conversation here today. We did not only cover the topic of social impact protocols, but you personally, you helped all of us to recall why we're building this space. We're building it for people, we're building it for community, we're building it for doing good, exchanging thoughts, helping each other, supporting. And that is perhaps the most important take that I personally getting from this episode with you. I would absolutely love to get you back at We in Web3 later next year. What would be this one thing for you, let's say in half a year from now, that you would love to ask your future self to make sure that you're doing good, to make sure that like to reflect what has been done in the last couple of months, or maybe something different that you would love to ask yourself in some period of time in the future? What would be this one question?
That's a good question. Well, I would say that the major question that I have, not only for myself but for the whole space, is are we recreating the same structures that basically we're trying to escape from? And if we are, is that the reason why we joined the space? And that's the question that I've been asking myself all the time, in the time that I've been building. But this is a question that I want to continue asking myself, but I want other people to ask themselves as well, you know. And why this question is important to me is because if the answer is that we are still building the same thing that we're trying to escape from, basically that's not why we here, or at least that's not why I'm here. Um, and yeah, I just really want to keep seeing more experiments in the space that that help us learn, because everything that we're doing is an experiment, right? And if anyone says that this is the right solution, they're probably lying to you. We are all learning together. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep asking this question to myself, and I'm gonna keep asking this question to other people as well.
Exactly, because no one knows what the future of the space gonna hold. We're extremely early. Some things that were relevant a couple of weeks ago, they do not exist anymore. And you reflecting back on what has been done and whether you're on the right track, that is the right way to make sure that you stay motivated, determined to grow the space. So we're definitely gonna ask this question. Here at We in Web3, I have a tradition. At the end of each episode, I ask my guests to imagine a station where you're actually stuck in an elevator, and for the next 15 or 20 seconds, you're standing next to some general audience. Let's call them people from Web2, people who have no understanding of crypto, blockchain, NFTs. What would be your elevator speech for 15 seconds explaining why Web3 is the right way, why Web3 is the future?
I just ask them, I usually just ask them, um, do you think that in the future, children's that are being born right now with an iPad or with a phone, do you think in the future they're going to trust opaque infrastructures that you don't necessarily know what's really happening? Or do you think that they're going to support digital infrastructures where basically you can know what is really happening? And yeah, also that's kind of like the question that I asked them. Do you believe in transparent governance when it comes to basically when it comes to uh, public service, and yeah, usually people they're like, no, in the future everything needs to be transparent. So that
Digitalization, transparency, progress, that's the future way. That's a perfect way to end today's episode. Once again, I got nothing but positive energy, positive vibes, emotions, smile on my face by talking to you. I know that I'm gonna see you perhaps soon at one of the biggest conferences. We're everywhere, growing around, building around. Man, thank you very much for everything that you're doing for this space, not only for your community, but for all other communities, all other people out there. You're just crushing it. You're doing it amazing. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Nikita, and thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you for coming very much. See you, my
Bye
friend.
bye. Ciao, ciao.